about your retirement was a little different than some guys in that it seemed you were pursuing an opportunity, an unexpected opportunity. Does that alter like your decision as far as coming back?
Yeah, I think, Dave, I mean, look, I think you try to make the best decision in real time that you think's what's going to work and what's best. And that was a decision I made a year ago. And, you try to visit with the people that are close to you and get as much information as you can get. And not only short term, but long term of staying around the game. And I truly felt like that was an opportunity that was going to be best. And I think in the same process a year later, or a little bit less than that, I went through that same process. And to make the decision to return, you try to process it and go through and make the best decision in real time once again. And I don't regret that decision a year ago. I learned a lot about myself, about the entire NFL, and humility and adversity and all the things that come with that. And I think more than anything else, there was just this fire inside of me that was too strong. Wanted to get back there while I can to help a football team. It's been my whole career with, and a lot of guys that I feel like are pretty talented and have a chance, and whatever role that is, I'm excited about it.
How much do you think the things that you did learn over this last year can help you now as a player?
Oh, I think they'll help a lot. I think naturally when you play in the NFL, and certainly the way I approached it, you have a little bit of tunnel vision in that your focus is on this opponent, this blitz, this coverage, what the formula is going to allow you to win. And I think I became a lot better and a better version of myself as far as being able to pull back, see how 31 other teams put a team together, what allows for them to win. Set up in the booth every week and see what works and what doesn't work in this league. So I think that's a perspective that I bring back with me. And I think more than anything else, being away from the game as a player, you come back with a little bit of different perspective. You're excited to get back in there. You don't take a day for granted. And you learned a little bit about what you can do to help the football team be better. So those are all things that I'm, just getting started implementing back in.
Excuse me if this is, go ahead, sorry, Dave.
Oh, go ahead.
If this is repetitive, I haven't heard anybody ask you this yet. Who was the first person in the Cowboys organization you approached and said, hey, I'm thinking about doing this, and then what was their, I guess, Mr. Jones's response?
Yeah, well, he was the first one. I was in constant communication with him. I mean, really even going back to last year and having an opportunity in broadcasting, I leaned on Jerry a lot throughout that process, and why not? He's been always had my best interest at mind. He's very aware of the TV deals and kind of what goes through that, and seeing Tony and Troy make that transition. And then, every step of the way, I just continued communication with really around the Pro Bowl. I was talking to Jerry and Steven and, of course, Coach Garrett. And, I felt like I'd put myself through a test. I wanted to see if I could still do it and know what kind of standards I put for myself. The last thing I want to do is be a bad version of that coming back. And, I knew when you make a decision like that, it's not just to come back. And the most important thing I can do in this return is be the best football player I can be, and help this team. What's that look like? I think it's, move the chains, get first downs. There's a lot of things behind the scenes that includes that, and how much is that work, and, what all of those in details, and the load management and all that goes into that. I mean, look, that'll work itself out. We've had some discussions about it, but more than anything else, as far as those things will work themselves out. I want to be the best player. It's been exciting for me the last 6-7 weeks to get integrated back with those teammates, kind of working at the things that I think I need to improve at, and I think there's some gas in the tank. And I'm well aware where I'm at in my career, but I'm just excited. We got a long way to go, but really enjoying it. Can't thank the Jones family enough, and Coach Garrett for giving me this opportunity and believing in me.
Did you get your locker back?
I did not. It's there was some talks about that, but hey, look, that's Zach Martin's locker, and he deserves that locker. He got that locker for a reason, and we all know that. He's a hell of a football player. And with that, all those little things of parking spots and lockers, and the way you kind of silly rituals that you have with certain people, you know, it was important for me to communicate to those players that, you know, this is their football team, and they've earned that, and I want to come be a part of it. But the last thing that I want them to feel is, hey, you know, big brother's coming home, get off the bed and go sleep on the couch, you know, and I got this. That's not what this is going to look like. And I'm excited to say, you know, in the early parts of this off season, we've been kind of working together and throwing and training. You know, it's been that transition's been very smooth. You know, I think those guys know my heart. They know kind of what I went through. They knew I missed it. I talked to them a lot during last season. And I think they also know what I'm about as a player, you know, and what I can help bring. So a lot of those questions, I've really tried to kind of eliminate that and just the what ifs. How's it all going to play out? Hell, none of us know, you know, and that was important for me to kind of, as I said, you know, I've always said the journey's the reward, and come back and do what I love with still having something in the tank. You know, how long does that last? I don't know, but I'm excited to be back there with those guys.
Like you say, you've had conversations with them about what the role would be, what it would look like, but you're also notorious for not coming off the field.
Yeah.
I mean, do you just feel that, hey, that competitively this is all going to sort itself out? I understand what you're saying. This is the plan. I understand I'm a different player now, but we'll just see what happens, sort of thing.
Yeah, I think you have to approach it that way. You know, I think that's part of this, going through this process. I don't know that I could have said that a year ago. I really don't. You know, and now you come back with a different perspective, and you know, my job is different than what it probably was for a long time there. But, you know, make no mistake about it, the best thing I can do is go be the best tight end I can be. And I certainly have high standards for that. You know, got a lot of work to do, put a lot of work to come back. I don't expect to be a shell of myself. You know, I wouldn't make this decision if I thought that was where I was at in my career. So move the chains, be a little small piece of this offense and this football team. But in knowing that, there's going to be other players that play my position that are going to have opportunities. Competition's good, you know, and truthfully, I think that's the best thing that's been built over the course of the last 10 years in that organization, is that they want competition. And I know they have to evaluate the position and think about it for the future. I'm well aware of that. You know, I mean, the Jones family's made that clear to me, and you still got to win football games, you know, and that's the most important thing. And you know, my job is to go out there and be that best version and help them. And I'm not worried about the petty stuff of how much that is. I know where I'm at in my career, and there's other good football players that deserve to play.
To that end, I think in the past I don't know if bristled is the right word, but when they selected another tight end, it caught your attention anyway. Will it as much if they select a tight end over the next 3 to 4 days?
No, I mean, no, it's not going to. Look, they know what they're doing. They got to build a football team that go get the best football players that can help. You know, I think every player wants to win. But certainly when I make a decision to come back like this, I'm visioning, you know, holding Lombardi trophies and competing for championships. I think it's a talented football team. So by no means would I be discouraged or you know, create a rift if that's would be even allowed to allow something like that to get in the way of the ultimate goal for what we want to accomplish. So I know where I'm at, you know, and look, I know it's going to be hard for a lot of people to see that because they know me in a certain way and the competition. You know, you're not going to apologize for that. You know, everybody wants to play. Everybody wants to win. I would think less of them if they didn't want to be out there in critical situations. That's not going to change. You know, if the game's on the line, you want to be in there. But so does Blake Jarwin and every other player on that football team. So, again, I think it gets back to kind of eliminating all that and really it's simplifying that and making this return. I've found joy in that process. I really have, you know, and that's allowed me to come back and, you know, throw them with Dak and those guys this all season. You truly appreciate that process. And, you know, as I said, you try to make those decisions in real time a year ago, and how long does this last? I don't know, but heck, I'm enjoying every second of it.
You're talking about, you know, putting like the locker, the parking spot, all that, or some of the guys having a lot of fun with you, treating you like just a new guy, or what's the dynamic?
Yeah, you know, I It's funny because, there's a day or two that's probably a little awkward, you walk into your locker and that's not your locker anymore. But I look, I think it's a sign of respect, and so you appreciate that. And they've had some fun times with it in the weight room. I got like the rookie card, it's like I'm starting all over again, with a blank sheet. Like I got 10 years of weight room cards that I filled out over the course of time. And so now you just, but I really have. I've enjoyed it. I've approached it. It sounds silly in a lot of ways, but I've approached it a lot like I'm a rookie, and like I got to learn, go back and watch it, and tell me that play again. What's the goal of that play? How are we calling that play? And been great satisfaction in having that. But yeah, those guys have kind of busted my chops a little bit about some of that, and that's good though. That's what you enjoy. You appreciate those times. Camaraderie's been great. I think it's a great group of players, just as far as who they are as people. I do. I think it's a talented team, And look, it's early, and I understand we don't want to get ahead of ourselves on all that, but I think it's a really talented team. There's young players, but they need to know it's their team. Of course, Dak, Zeke, Cooper, Zach, Travis, but Jalen Smith, Van Der Esch, Byron Jones, they need to know that's their football team as well. And I have the humility to approach it of just going to have a piece of it, and it's been a lot of fun to approach it that way.
I think you've kind of hinted around this a little bit, but just ask the question directly. You've mentioned you feel like you've got some gas left in the tank. Is that 1 year worth of gas, or is that still up in the air?
I think it's up in the air, and again, I think you got to let it play out. Look, it's a show me game, and I approach it like I'm a rookie because really those 1,100 catches don't matter. I truly feel like I got to prove it, and not with a chip on my shoulder or anything like that, but just you got to go show it, and that's the challenge. It's really invigorated me in a lot of ways to approach it that way, And hey, look, you got to go show it all again. You got to prove it, and so I'm embracing that. But I think it would be foolish a little bit to try to get ahead of ourselves of how long. Certainly, I make the decision to play. I want to play as long as I can.
How do you manage to do that? With 1,100 catches in your past, with the things that you've accomplished, how do you manage to strip yourself of all of that and approach it with the way that you are with this I'm the new guy, I got to learn again mentality? Yeah,
well, I think it starts with you got to have the self-confidence to be critical of yourself. And knowing that, you got to understand there's a respect you have for this game and what it takes to play this game at a high level. And, the show goes on. Parcells had the great line, circus doesn't stay in town forever. And there's a lot of truth to that. And so if you want to be a part of it, then you got to go show that and prove it. And, being away from it for a year, now you have to force your mind to start over. That mental clarity to say, hey, look, that's how I'm going to approach it every single day. And I always felt like I did that in a lot of ways. I'd go back in the off season and watch myself and start from scratch, but even more so during this process of kind of building it all back and what you expect of yourself. And, there's an inner confidence that you have, and naturally we go out next week for teaching sessions. I'm sure a lot of people are going to watch me run an option route, okay? And, you embrace that because you feel like you got to prove it all over again, even though you ran that route, a million times.
Was it your first day back? Was it awkward kind of walking into a building that you had a retirement ceremony where, that was the last time you were
I think it's just there's the jitters, it is probably a little, there was a lot of energy. There was a lot of excitement to it. I don't know that you would say awkward because I think, time had kind of gone on and people were excited. You communicated with a lot of those guys. But I think it was, let's get to work, and I've tried to approach it that way. Hey, don't make a big deal about it, I thought Jerry and Rich did a great job of just kind of sending a press release, and I'm sure you guys were probably surprised by that a little bit. And, and that's by design. Like, let's go back to work. Let's approach it that way. And, being away from it, you do come back and have a different perspective on things. And that's good. That's really good. And so you share it and you dive back in, and, sometimes you don't know what you have until it's gone. And I don't think a year ago I would have been in a position to kind of have this approach, And I feel like I'm the winner here. You kidding me? I got to play that long for 15 years, go sit in a booth on Monday Night Football and have an opportunity to come back, I'm thankful for that.
What was going through your mind when you were there when Dirk played his final
Yeah.
home game, having been through all of that, knowing what, and you and Dirk have a relationship.
Yeah.
Did you talk, and what was going through your mind as you were watching him and delivering those words down on the court?
Yeah, well, I mean, certainly I loved being there. I mean, I have so much respect for him, who he was as a player, but more importantly, who he was in his community, the role model, how he invested to being a part of Dallas. I just think back to all those years, those great moments of who he was, and I was thinking back a part of that of, those early years when people were challenging, could he do it? Was he the guy? Is he tough enough to handle that stage of being the franchise player? And, it's funny to think about those comments now, but that was real back then. I shared that with some of those guys that, they probably don't remember those days for Dirk, but he had his fair share of adversity. So, been a great friend. His influence and how he's approached the game. And I think there's a lot of similarities in us too. I mean, look, did we jump the highest? Did we run the fastest? No, but there's some things you can't measure. And he was the ultimate sign of that, how he performed and how he made everybody else around him better. And you hate to see that come to an end, but I thought it was truly an art how he approached the whole thing and, how the words that he said. Kind of closing off that final chapter because he emptied it all. He really did. He emptied the bucket, and more than anything, I think we were there collectively just to show respect and appreciation for who he is.
Jason, you mentioned holding the Lombardi. That's one of the driving forces. This season turns out to be the ideal season, and you're hosting that trophy. Is that enough to say goodbye?
Oh, I don't know. Let's just get there first, and then we'll see. That would be a crazy moment. Look, there's so much that has to happen in order for that to take place, and we know that no team picks up right where they leave off, and there's a lot of excitement because I think that there's a collective unit of young talent that's coming on. I mean, you look at Van Der Esch and the year he had, Jalen Smith, and those guys. There's certainly veteran players that are established and some of the best in the league. There's a lot to be excited for, but you got to kind of pull back, and I've been around long enough to know. You can't get ahead of yourself in this league. You can't cheat the muse, so to speak. And there's a lot of work that has to take place between now and then. So, and you want to share that. That's one of the responsibilities I put on myself.